Hi guys, and welcome back to a new video. I'm sorry it's been a bit of a long gap in between videos, but the children have been off, so it's been hectic here. So anyway, a quick video today, just looking at 5 things that I really missed or really realized were very different from the Fuji to going to Nikon Z6 II. And it's quite easy actually to go through them because they're only small things, but they are things that I noticed straight away. So the first thing, show my camera on. The first thing I noticed is, let's just get the in there, the display. Now, when I turn the camera, as you can see, the display doesn't work. Now, on the Fuji system, if I was to shoot at this angle, I could shoot and my screen would rotate and I'd see all the right in the correct way up. It's a small thing, but it's a thing I noticed, and it's a thing you'll notice too if you switch from Fuji to Nikon. I don't know if that can be fixed in a firmware update, we'll have to see, but it was annoying to start with. I've got used to it now, my eyes kind of turn around on my head, but yeah, that's the first thing I noticed. Number one was the EVF doesn't turn when you turn your camera. The second thing, now this is a bit different to the last one because it does actually affect the way you shoot more. Now on the Fujifilm, when you were autofocusing and you had autofocus modes, you could literally scroll your back dial and the box would change size. So you'd have the smallest box for pinpoint, and then you'd have a slightly bigger box for a slightly bigger pinpoint. Then you have medium-sized boxes for zone focusing. Then you'd have the large boxes then, which would be for tracking. Now, unfortunately, on the Nikon, sorry, it's a very different system altogether. So instead of going through simply turn the dial to quickly get them, you have little options to choose different ones, which is very off-putting when you're used to just having a dial to flick through them. The second point of the autofocus, if that doesn't sound too bad, is that for some reason on the Nikon, the eye detect is part of certain autofocus modes, whereas on the Fujifilm, of course, you could kick in autofocus on the eyes at any time just by clicking a button on or off, and it would override whatever mode you're in, and you could go straight to eye detect. Now that was a fantastic feature. I have got around it on this, and I can write a little write-up if you want of how I've got around it. But it is an annoying feature, and Fujifilm's autofocus system is so much easier to navigate and just turn quickly from different tracking to single point to eye tracking to bird tracking. It's all can be done on basically on one dial and one button. Well, on this one you have to faff around with the menus a bit. But as I say, I've got a workaround for it. It's not perfect, but there is a workaround for it. That was point number 2. And on to point number 3. Now point number 3 is also to do with the EVF, and that is the EVF is not as customizable as it is on the Fujifilms. Now on the Fujifilm, you can literally move anything you want around anywhere you want. You can customize it exactly as you want it. On this camera, you've got a display option, and you can display a couple of different options, but that's it. You can't move things around as easily and as freely as you could on the Fuji. Again, it's a little thing. I used to like to minimize mine so I'd have nothing on show and it was just a blank screen, or I'd have a certain thing, just the histogram or just the horizon. Can't do that on there, which is very strange for a camera which costs so much money. But as I said, you get used to it, and it's one of those little niggles which when you first see it you get really annoyed, but after a while you get used to it. That was point number 3. And we're on to point 4. Point 4 is a slightly different one. Now, if you're a RAW shooter, this doesn't affect you at all. But on the Fujifilm system, you could take a photograph and you could have 3 color profiles shot at the same time. So what I like to do, I used to shoot in a black and white, probably an Acros plus red. I'd shoot in a color, normally chrome, classic chrome, and I'd shoot in a third one, normally Velvia or something else. So you've got the selection there. So it means that you can quickly grab the things you need, get the look you want, and choose the one you want straight away. It was particularly useful for when you were designing color profiles to shoot, or recipes as they call them in the Fuji world. But with this, you can only shoot in one color profile, and you can only shoot in RAW and JPEG, obviously. So It's not too much of a bummer because the software NX Studio is really good. So you can put the raw files into that and you can do whatever you want to them. And it works really quick, unlike Fuji's software, which is really slow. But yeah, it's a shame because I did like shooting JPEG occasionally. And it was nice to have the choice of the black and white or the color or the super color saturated or whatever variants you wanted. But alas, you can't do it on the Nikon. Point number 5, and the final point, is on the X-T3 and the X-T20 and the X-T2 and the XT range in general, you didn't have a PASM dial. So of course, switching back from Fuji to this, I had to get used to shooting on the changing my dials. So I had to shoot manual. I could change it to aperture priority, change it to shutter priority. Of course, on the Fujifilm, you can simply just turn your aperture, set the aperture, which believe it or not, on Nikon Z cameras, this is also the aperture ring, okay? So don't worry if you ever go to Nikon, because they do have aperture rings. You can change this dial here to be whatever you want. So it can be aperture, it can be exposure compensation, and it can be manual focus, or you can turn it off. I've set it to aperture control, so I can simply just turn my aperture just by turn the dial. Okay, so that's that there. Yes, so it is different, but as I said before, within a day or two I got used to it, and now I'm used to just flicking from manual to aperture priority, and it is that simple. But it is something you should know, okay, and something that you will notice: the ease of Fujifilm when it comes to these things, such as the way they've set up their modes, the way they've set up their autofocus. It's much simpler than it is on a Nikon. But then again, once you're used to the Nikon, it's really simple on the Nikon. So there we go. It's a short video. I've got new lighting, so hopefully you can see me better. I'm using my phone today because obviously I'm using my camera to show you a few things. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comments are welcome. Please leave them. Please don't be nasty. Please use considerate comments, and obviously I will get back to you. I answer every single question that is written to me, or every single comment. So thank you for your time. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.